Good morning, everyone. I normally don't ever say good morning, but people know it's morning. Hey, that's so strange. This is Corinne Lafont, broadcasting to you from Trinidad and Tobago on Between the Lines. This is your favorite radio host, your only radio host, of course, and favorite girl. Who else is there? Come on. So I am talking today with Rebecca Barnes-Hogg. And before I formally introduce her, you know I normally am spreading thanks and gratitude for being here. It's a wonderful, beautiful day. Although I've been hearing little rumors about some sort of hurricane coming our way here in the Caribbean islands. I think it's Nick or something like that. I'm really not paying attention because, Nick is going to do his thing and I just need to do my thing. So, whether or not I just don't get in a frenzy and panic about these things. Yeah, that's nature, and I'm just going to do what I have to do. But it's a beautiful day. It's beautiful today, and I'm thankful to be able to see another day. I'm thankful to be able to breathe in another day. Yeah, and just appreciate the beauty of the world. Yeah, not only in the trees and the animals, but also in people. Like I have Rebecca Barnes-Hogg here with me. She's beautiful. Yeah, and I can see outside from by her that it's also beautiful and sunny. It's radiant. I'm seeing the sun's rays coming in behind her, which looks really, really awesome. So let me tell you a bit about Rebecca. So Rebecca Barnes-Hogg, and I'm just going to call her Rebecca when we start talking, but for formality, she is the author of the YOLO Principle, YOLO, and we'll learn more about that in a bit. The ultimate hiring guide for small business and co-author of Rethinking Human Resources. She's a serial connector of small businesses with their ideal employees. She first discovered this talent as a teenager when she helped her high school classmates find summer jobs. I wish I was there with her at the time. Her career in corporate America encompassed all facets of a business. Rebecca recognized early on that at the center of every business is its people. Throughout her career, Rebecca excelled at putting the right people in the right positions to make things happen. In 2011, she founded YOLO Insights to make sure that no small business is held back because they are unable to find the talented people they need. A passion for hunting purple unicorns, or in real life words, ideal employees, shows in the transformation she helps small businesses achieve. Rebecca's recruiting insights have been featured in Forbes, PBS Next Avenue, Inc.com, Business News Daily, US News and World Report, CBS Small Business Pulse, MarketWatch, Hotel Executive, and HR Magazine. Welcome, Rebecca, to Between the Lines.
Well, good morning, Corrine. I'm so happy to be here with you today. And having just finished going through Hurricane Florence here in the Carolinas, I can understand how you feel. It's not fun when hurricanes are bearing down on you.
Yeah.
So you have my prayers.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm not really worried. I mean, I've been through several. And, I was living in Jamaica for 21 years, just came back to Trinidad and Tobago last year. So I've been through some serious hurricanes in Jamaica because Jamaica is always prone to getting hit by major hurricanes, right? Based on its location. Fortunately for us here in Trinidad and Tobago, most of the hurricanes never really hit us because of where we are geographically located. We are blessed in that way. So it may be coming in our direction and then it just diverts somehow. I don't worry about these things. Like I said, nature does this thing. I do mine. I don't get into the panic and frenzy, going to the supermarket, rushing to buy out all the stuff. And then you're like, oh, now I have all these tins of things. What am I going to do with them? You know? So I don't get into the panic. I just stay calm and, everything always has a way of working out. I'm sure you know that.
Yes, it does.
Always has a way of working out. So what are we talking about today? We are talking about a fresh approach to hiring employees, especially in small businesses, which is your target audience. And prior to recording this episode, we were talking about myself. I'm like, I was sharing a bit with you that I'm into HR. That's my master's, human resource development. And I have a totally, I wouldn't really say radical. I've been looking at HR over the years, being involved, working with associations, seeing how people hire. I mean, and even as an end user, when you're applying for jobs, what people do, their approach. So even from the form you fill out, it's so archaic. They take you through the form. They're even asking you questions, which totally disturbs me. One of them is, what was your previous salary? So they want to know all your salary for all your past jobs. I'm like, why the hell do you need to know that? How is that pertinent to the job that you're offering me? You're not supposed to be asking me that. Or are you trying to gauge how much I earn before to be able to know what to offer me? I find that quite demeaning, and I'm not into that. And then when you go for the interviews, they still have the old approach where, like, you're in an inquisition. A number of them are sitting down there. It's so intimidating, and instead of them making you feel comfortable, it puts more fear and anxiety into you. I've sat on interview panels myself. I interview people, and I don't do that, because you really have to understand that, this person is coming before you. They're anxious, they're nervous, they're hoping that they get a job they don't know. They see their competitors sometimes sit down in the foyer with you, so you're assessing a lot of things going through your mind, and you're like, really, I make this person come before me, sit down, and I'm questioning them like if they have committed a crime. Come on. you know the whole process. And probably that's why I haven't gotten into HR, because I would totally revolutionize the entire process and question a lot of things. Why are you doing it this way? And then, hiring somebody, to me, is not just what is on paper. I tend to go with that gut instinct. I see a lot more than what you say on paper and what you say in the interview, because people are going to say what you want to hear on the panel, what they feel is right. Although there's no right and wrong, to me, there's no right or wrong answer in an interview. So I share all of that to be able to just give you an idea of where I'm coming from in terms of HR. And you can now, share your views and what you have experienced, and if what I'm saying is actually still happening in your part of the world, and if you have seen that and changed that as well, if you think it is something that needs to change.
Oh, absolutely, Corrine. And one of the things that you mentioned, with that past salary and how you feel it's demeaning about how they decide that that's how they're going to pay you is based on what your history is. And fortunately, here in the United States, a number of our states have passed legislation that make asking those questions illegal. So the good news is that people are now paying attention to that, and they're taking steps to change it and to make that something that is not permissible to ask a candidate. So the other aspect you were talking about is, making this like an inquisition. And what I like to do is to have it be basically a two-way conversation, is how I teach my clients to approach interviewing. You want to find out as much as possible about the person you're interviewing for the position. And at the same time, if you are the interviewer or the interviewee, you're applying for the position, you also need to know as much as possible about that position, so you can make an informed decision about whether that position will be right for you. So it should be a dialogue. It should be a two-way conversation where both parties are information gathering. And when you're in this interviewing process, I always have a strategic conversation with my clients about, why are you even asking this particular question? What information do you hope to get? And how will that relate to the job? So I don't really like these crazy questions that people like to throw out. You see them all the time on the internet, these oddball questions like, if you were an animal, which animal would you be? What does that have to do with the job? Like, if you really want to know what people value and what they believe, ask questions that are designed to tell you that. And make sure they're done in a work-related way so that you're not just, turning people off because of the way you're asking questions or the types of questions that you're asking.
Yeah. And they like to ask, tell me a bit about yourself. These type of things. No, I don't know. I love the idea of the two-way, but it always ends up being most of the time one way. And they don't set the context. In order for you to create a two-way conversation, just like how we are having a two-way conversation, you set that tone, you set that environment, you set that ambience so that from the time you walk in, you feel that there is going to be a two-way conversation. You feel it, you know it. But if you come in and it's like from the time you walk in and you open the door, you feel a stiff air. You're like, whoa, this is tense. What is going on? Now, some people may expect it to be because they'll be like, it's an interview. And just the word interview can be, I don't know if they could find another term for that. But just the term interview already puts a certain framework in your mind that your body is going to tense up. So I don't know if they can even change that. And when I say they, I don't know who they is, but they meaning, I guess, the people at organizations, companies, even the small businesses, they can start, and demonstrate or show to the larger companies, this is how we hire, this is how we do this or that. And it doesn't even have to be that the person come in and sit in a it can be a team. You can run an interview in a team approach. So for example, an activity that all your candidates can probably be in, and we say, let's have a little team activity. You will be able to actually see the real person coming out right there without having them in a tense environment. You can say, hey, we're having a dinner or a lunch. We'd like you to join us. You watch how that person, sit, eat, have a simple conversation. They're relaxed. It's not coming in. You sit across the table. There are about 10 people watching you. You feel you're in court. Well, trying to defend yourself. And of course they call it selling yourself, but it seems more like you're defending yourself and trying to get your freedom.
Yeah. Well, one of the things you can do if you're the person being interviewed is, a lot of people feel like they have to take their cues from their interviewer. And what I will tell the candidates that I work with when they go into interview with a client of mine, I will tell them, you get to get the information you need to make a decision, and it's equally valid for you as it is for the interviewer. So come prepared with your research about the company, the job. Ask really good questions. So if you've done enough research, you know the types of things you want to know. And weave those throughout your answers. So if they, I really don't like that open-ended question, tell me about yourself. So if that's the question you get asked from the start, you are the one in control of how you answer that question. So one of the things you could do in that situation is say, well, telling you all about myself could take us a very long time. So let me tell you about my career and my philosophy and my approach to a position like this. So you see how you just shifted the control from them to you.
Yes.
So those are some just very simple tweaks that can make that a more comfortable situation.
I love that. I love that shift. And it's really about shifting. It's really about shifting back the control. You take charge. I remember when, as you talk about that, I was interviewed. I was featured on TV, and the interviewer was talking to me, and you could feel similar scenario. You could feel the person being overwhelming. And I remember somebody who is versed on being on TV. It was my first time years ago. And it was a good interview, but I felt that I walked out there feeling that I could have been a bit more in charge, a bit more, forward and bold, knowing my type of personality. And somebody who saw it, they said, she gave me a bit of advice as somebody who is on TV all the time. And she says, Corinne, when I go on TV, I'm in charge. It's like 5, 10 minutes. I gotta get my message out there, and they may try to shift you in whatever, but I make sure that I steer that conversation. I steer that in, to get my message, because once it's over, it's over. You don't get back that time. So it's the same thing. You are in charge, but people who are candidates normally go in thinking, I need a job. The mindset is, I need a job. I need them. So I'm going to be that pleaser, try to say the right things, the best things, even though you come out of the interview trying to knock yourself over. You could have said this better. I could have done this better. But what you're saying is, come at it with a shift, meaning you are the one in control. It's not the 10 people sitting down on the panel trying to control you, but in a calm way. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. You need to be comfortable.
Mm.
And so the way I become comfortable is I take the initiative to set the direction and the tone. So when I get one of those oddball questions like that, I will just say, well, I don't really think of myself in terms of an animal, but if you wanted to know what I feel are my personal strengths, then I can tell you there that I am very intellectually curious. I always love to learn new things, that I love working with people who are open and honest and are giving good feedback. And you can add to that whatever's important to you. So while they might ask you that weird question, you don't have to answer it that way. You can kind of flip it around and say, I don't think in those terms, but here are the qualities that I feel are my strengths. And if you can figure out what animal that is, then that's what I am. But I don't think in those terms. That's not how I would describe myself. So, and that's typically what's behind those weird questions. It's like,
Yeah.
well, why don't you just ask people instead
Yeah.
of trying to trick them?
Yeah.
But that's a technique. That's a really good technique you can use to still be polite and courteous, answer their questions, but at the same time maintain your comfort and control of the information that you're giving them.
Mm. And there are some, there are some persons. There's always that one individual on the panel that will insist. We want to know an animal. So which animal would you associate it with? They turn it right back on you. There's always that one.
Yeah. Well, then the thing becomes, do you really want to work for a company who has someone like that
Yeah.
there?
Yeah.
I mean, really, would you be happy in that organization if there was that
Exactly.
kind of an environment?
Yeah.
So that's kind of the thing. I mean, sometimes these questions are good for you because they teach you where you don't want to work. That's
Exactly.
the worst thing. The worst thing is to get into a job and hate it and
Yeah.
not be happy. And that's kind of why I chose YOLO Insights as my business name. You only live once. You have every day. You have to live it in a way that fulfills you and makes you happy. And if you're in a job that is not making you feel fulfilled and happy and successful, then that's the wrong job for you.
Yeah.
And knowing that in that interview process, even though we can both agree we don't like that term, I think that's important. And it's one of the things you get to learn from what you're saying is, you feel like you're in court and defending yourself and that kind of thing. But it also gives you the knowledge to know, do I really want to work in an organization that operates this way?
You're absolutely right. Have you ever had a situation or heard or had to manage someone who has gone into an interview, a candidate has gone into an interview, and they sense, just like what you're saying, that this is not a place I want to be. They
Mm-hmm.
decide, I'm not going to waste any more time sitting in this interview. I just need to go. Have they ever gotten up out of the interview, say thanks to the panel, and say, I thank you for your time. I'm sorry for wasting your time. And have you ever had that situation, or if should that occur, what
Okay.
would you suggest?
Sure. I think if you're in that situation and you recognize that this is not going to be a good fit for me, it's perfectly acceptable to say, if they ask you a question and by this point you're really feeling like this is not a good fit, you can just very respectfully say, based on the conversation so far and what you've told me and some of the things that we've discussed, right now I really feel like this isn't going to be a good fit for either one of us. Would you agree with that?
Mm-hmm.
And so you kind of put it back on them a little bit and just
Yeah.
say, I'm not feeling like this is a good fit for me or for you. And let them say, oh, no, wait a minute. No, we're not sure where we went off track here, but we want to continue this conversation. Or they can say, yeah, that is correct. We're kind of feeling that way too. And then you can just say, well, I really appreciate the time and the opportunity, and I'm going to respect your time by, ending and saying thank you very much, and let us both go back and carry on with our days. And
Yeah.
I think people respect that.
Mm.
And it also is better than going through the whole process just for the sake of filling a 30 minutes
Yeah.
time slot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Which
We're
is
all
a waste of
busy. We're
time.
all busy.
Yeah.
Our time
Yeah.
is valuable on both sides.
Yeah.
So I think recognizing that and stopping an interview early is good for both sides. And I also tell my clients that if you're interviewing a candidate and based on their answers, it's not going to be a good fit, there's nothing wrong with just saying, what I'm hearing from you is kind of out of alignment with what we need for this position.
Mm.
So, I think it's not a good use of either one of our time to continue the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes a candidate will feel they won't feel that. And I do that a lot when I do my initial interviewing for my clients. I'll do a phone interview with a candidate.
Mm-hmm.
And if based on their answers, I feel like this is not going to be good for them, I'll tell them, and I'll tell them why.
Mm-hmm.
So someone might say to me, my long-term career goal is to work on a large team. Well, if I'm hiring for a small company and the team is going to be 2 people, and this company isn't ever going to be a 500 or 1,000 or a 10,000 employee company, I'm going to say that to them. I'm going to say, based on what you just told me about your long-term goal, I don't think this is a good step, because this is a company of 20 employees. And so you're not going to have a big team to support you. And it could be 20 or 30 years till they get to the point where they're going to have the size team that you want to work in. And I think candidates, they appreciate that, because then they can come back and say, oh, I didn't mean, a team of 20 people. By large team, that to me meant 5 people.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, so now we're back on the same page.
Mm-hmm.
So it gives you that opportunity to course correct, to adjust as necessary.
Mm. What are some of the challenges you find happening with small businesses in terms of recruiting?
It's hard when you're small because you feel like you're competing with really big companies and they're taking all the best people.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, I think the biggest thing small businesses miss is that their size is really an advantage. And there are a lot of surveys out there that show people actually prefer working in a smaller company. And it's because they get to do very mission-based work a lot of times. So they can believe in the work they're doing, and they can feel like they're having an impact and they're doing something good for the world. they get to work more closely with the owners and the founders of the company. They're more available in a small company. And another thing that happens in small companies that you don't get in a larger company is that ability to do different types of roles, because in a small company, you have to do a lot of different things because there isn't the budget to have a full-time person for every single function. So you get to try out a lot of different things and can really learn a lot about business. And those opportunities typically don't exist in a large organization where you tend to get siloed into one function, and that's where you stay.
Yeah, yeah. We were talking prior to being on air about the approach to pursuing further education and being in the job. So, for example, I was saying, in my time, the approach was you keep going to school. So, you do your high school and, you go and do a degree, you finish your schooling, and then you come out and look for a job, which proves to be very difficult.
Mm.
What I have seen is that is a better approach is that, okay, so you finish the basic, your high school, you can pursue getting a job. Take the time to understand who you are, because at that point you still don't know who you are, what you want to do, unless you're very sure from that age that you know what you want to do. But most people don't. They're still trying to find themselves, know what is their passion, what really makes them want to wake up in the morning and don't sleep at night. And so I say after high school, instead of, going straight into a degree, take the time, travel, do different stuff, take up volunteer work, get involved, do something part-time, get to know what really, ring your bell. And then when you have discovered that, you can decide, okay, I'm already working in this particular job or opportunity. I want to pursue this particular thing. And then you could decide, okay, what opportunities, education opportunities are available to allow me to know more, to specialize in this particular area, to be able to add value to me. So, for example, in HR, it's difficult to go out, get a degree, a master's like what I have, and then try and look for a job. If you were already in HR and that was your passion, and you decide while you're working in an HR capacity, you can pursue qualifications to cement you in that job or to allow you to move up or move out to another company, you would have already had the experience and the qualifications to be able to do that. What is your take on that approach? Because we're talking about a fresh approach to hiring, and I mean we're working both sides as we have the conversation, both the employer and employee.
Right. And what I think is important is if you want to pursue a certain field of study or a certain industry or a certain type of job, do everything you can to get exposure to that. So even though you may graduate with a master's in HR, like you've said, if you throughout your school have been doing internships or volunteer work, there's so many organizations out there that are nonprofit that would love to have someone help them out with doing an employee handbook or doing some research on projects or helping them create a performance evaluation system or helping them develop a recruiting process or a system or help them modernize some of their processes, and they don't have budgets. And those are prime ways to gain experience without having to do a full-time job and get in a, into a company just to gain that experience. There are so many ways you can gain that. And the other thing too is to think about transferable skills.
Yeah.
So a lot of times you might be working in one industry, but companies want people who can be creative and innovative, think outside the box. They want people who can adapt to change. And I don't know of very many jobs anymore that don't require those same skills. So when you think about positions that you've already held, how did you operate in those positions, and what qualities will transfer into this new field? So here's a great example. I was working with a college student who was paying his own way through school, like many of us do, and had a part-time job working in a grocery store. And he was a cashier, he stocked shelves, he did whatever was needed. And he said, well, I can't get a job in software development because I don't have any software development skills. All I have are my school projects, and then on this part-time job that I put myself through school with, working in the grocery. So we sat down and we talked about, do you work in a team? Are you handling conflict with customers? Are you paying attention to details? As a cashier, you have to be very accurate in counting out change and making sure things are charged appropriately, and you're giving good customer service. You're being flexible if someone doesn't come to work when they're supposed to. You stay late until someone else can come in and pick up before you go home. There are all sorts of things you're doing in that job that employers want and need in their employees. So it's how you present that on your resume. So when someone puts on a resume, I worked at the grocery store and I was a cashier. Well, you were more than just a cashier. What did you do? What impact did that have on the store? Did you always balance your cash drawer every day? Were your customers happy, or were the customers that came through your checkout line going to complain to the store manager because you didn't treat them well? So put those things on there. Like, I had a 100% customer satisfaction rate on my surveys, because everybody gives you a little survey now when you buy something. At the bottom of your little receipt is always, click here and take the survey. So there are so many things you can put that, even if it's not in that industry, those are skills that the industry needs.
So yeah, Rebecca, what you were saying is that you're talking about the transference of skills, which is really a major concern, because a lot of us who may not have been in what persons may call an executive or managerial sort of job, but yet we're seeking that. We don't know, like how you were giving the example of the guy who worked in a grocery store. Somebody may say, what could you bring? And that's always a question they always ask when you go into an interview. You just worked in a grocery store. I mean, what kind of skills can you transfer? So that is important, because I go through that myself. We all go through that, and we're kind of like dumbfounded as to how can we take the skills that we learned, whether in a clerical job or even in volunteerism. That even in volunteerism, what can we take from something like that? We haven't worked. Somebody might say, oh, you haven't worked in a job. What could you do? No, the transference. I want you to kind of round up that discussion. And then what I will do is showcase your website so that persons can get to know more about you and what you can offer as an HR expert.
Sure, Corrine. I think that we all have skills that we get through life experiences. And when you look at a job ad that employers are posting, they ask for the same things: good communication skills, team player, critical thinking, analytical thinking. And we use these skills every day in our lives, whether it's in a work situation, a volunteer situation, in our families. Another skill that a lot of people like are, negotiation. How many people out there have teenagers? You negotiate with those teenagers every single day, right? So you have phenomenal negotiation skills.
Some of them you don't win. But it's not a matter of winning. It's a matter of everybody gets something out of the relationship and we are satisfied. It's not a matter of winning or trumping or anything like that. Yeah.
Exactly. And we use these skills all the time, and we forget we have them because they are not the types of things we're taught to put on a resume.
Mm.
So I think it's important that we all remember that we have skills employers want, and we just have to show how those skills we already have can be applied to that situation in an employment setting, whether it's an entry level or a mid-level or an executive level.
I think what happens to us too is that the mindset that we have, when we think of, or we are asked, what skills did you bring from that into a job, especially if you haven't worked before, your mind goes into a sort of brain freeze where you're like, I didn't do anything. You're not thinking openly, calmly to say, but hold on, I've done gardening, I've done this, I've done that. I'm able to put things here, I'm able to organize, I have good time management, I know when supposed, you're not pulling from the everyday experiences that you have had over the years, the things, the little projects you have worked on, even in your church community or in your community even at school. It could be a school project where you were on a team, or in something in sports. It could be anything where you can pull from that and say, I am able to offer you this, or I have those skills to be able to offer you.
That's exactly right. And like I said, we all have these skills, and it's important to remember that we have them and not get flustered by the fact that we didn't actually use them in an employment situation.
Mm.
And I think employers appreciate people giving those life experiences. It shows that you are continually learning, you're developing yourself, and those are the differentiators today. Not just someone who says, I was responsible for this particular thing, but here are the skills I use to do certain things, whether they're volunteer, church, sports, work related, wherever they may be in life, because those things are going to be important.
Yeah. Before we go to your website, I have one thing that popped into my mind. They would ask you in an interview, and I'm kind of channeling these things because I know these are the kind of questions that persons will ask or have asked me. So it's similar questions. They don't really get any way creative. So one of the things that they may ask you is, tell us of a situation, where you have to really give a sort of live experience that you have gone through and how you handle it, what you learn from it, and let's say that you just can't come up with something that is in keeping with what you think they want to hear, or what may be, or for the situation that they have. Let's say you've never had that kind of experience, or you can't think of one at that moment. How do you respond to that type of question?
I think a good way to respond to that is say, I've never been in that exact situation, but may I tell you about a similar situation where I had to use the same type of skills? So in that case, you could say, I've never been in a contract negotiation in a business setting. But you could say, I was in the process of building a home, and during that part of the building process, I had to negotiate contracts with various professionals, whether it's the electrician or the plumber or the carpenter or the person who installs your kitchen cabinets, whatever that might be. You can say, here's how I had negotiated in this situation, and this is what was presented to me. It wasn't really what I wanted, and this is what I did and what I said, and how I managed to come to a mutually beneficial agreement for myself and the plumber. So you can take those questions and answer them without saying, I've never done that. And that's what most people default to. Well, I've never negotiated a contract. Well, of course you've negotiated. It just wasn't in a work setting.
It wasn't in a work setting, but it all boils down, the principles are still the same.
Exactly.
And this is what we need to remember. The principles are still the same. It may not be in an employment setting, but the principles are still the same. Yes.
Exactly.
So let's hop over to your website. Let me see if I can grab a page here.
Okay.
Remind me of your website again, Rebecca.
It is YOLO Insights, YOLO INSIGHTS YOLOTS.com.
And YOLO means?
You only live once.
For sure.
Right. And life's too short to spend it working with people that just drain you and hold you back.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Let's see. For sure, for sure. Here we go. Yes. You only live once. People, let's repeat that again. You only live once. Oh my God. Don't waste time. So here's where we are. You seeing that?
Yes.
Right. Your struggle to hire the right people ends here. Do you know how much a bad hire really costs? Oh my God. Let's not go there. That's for another discussion, Rebecca. I love this. Get your calculator. Ooh, this popped up. Do you know how much money you save when you hire the right people? I love that. Oh, the free calculator. Clearly, I'm going to put my name in there and find out.
Yeah, just your name and email. You'll get the calculator and some helpful hints on how to use it.
I love that. I'm certainly going to put in my name for that. Yeah, I'm going to check that out. Great. So even if that doesn't pop up, they can do it here as well.
Yes.
Yes. Your hiring headaches are cured. This is great for small business people. Oh, wow. And this is what you do. You listen,
Yes.
you're knocking sites, you save people time, and you find the right people. Yes.
Exactly.
And I can tell you do. I can tell you do just by talking to you, because we both have HR in common. And so we talk the same language. We could understand. Yeah. And this is not
Yes.
just really for small business. This is for large companies as well, because I think the larger companies make larger mistakes. The smaller companies make smaller mistakes.
It's always possible. Everybody makes mistakes. So
Yeah. The larger makes larger ones, and it costs them more. They need that calculator.
They do. They do.
They do. So let's see how they can contact you. Let me just jump on this page here.
Okay.
Wonderful. So it's pretty easy. I mean, you just put in your name,
Yes.
email address, the way to contact, and leave a
Yeah.
message. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. It's very simple.
Very simple. Beautiful. And of course, you have your blog post here. So if anybody wants to educate themselves on anything, this is free. And I love this. I always tell my clients, always offer a free consultation. If
Right.
do you offer that with this? Schedule a meeting. Do you offer?
Yes. Yeah, it's a free 20-minute session, and when you schedule it, it goes right to my calendar. You can pick a convenient date, and there's a little form to fill out to select what you want to speak with me about, and we just stay very focused on what you need and how we can help you. And there's no selling. It's all just geared to you. And if at the end of that time you would like to work with me, I always offer another appointment so we can discuss what that looks like. I never do it in that free meeting because I want that meeting to be free.
Of course, of course. So here we are to order the book, The YOLO Principle. I love it. It's very comical.
It's a very fun book. It's not, your typical boring business book where it's just a lot of dry details and research. It's real life case studies. It's real world experience. And I keep it fun because fun is one of my core values. I like to have fun, and I think it's easy to have fun at work if you have the right mindset.
I run on fun. The gas in the car is on fun. Everything is fun. I'm at the fun station. Everything is about fun.
Right.
This is great. So persons can also enter their name and email address to get a free sample. And of course, they can put the book here and on Amazon, correct?
Right. Yes, you can buy it directly from my website. I like to offer the free sample because I think people should see my style before they decide whether or not I'm the right person for them.
Yeah.
So I like to offer just a free taste, and if people enjoy it, then they can purchase the book either directly from my website, or if they prefer Amazon, it's available there, and it's also in Kindle.
Nice. So they can get it immediately. There's no waiting.
Yes, no waiting.
Yes, beautiful. Well, I think we had a great time. I think,
We did.
yeah, I think we had a
We
great
did.
time. Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Rebecca Barnes-Hogg. It was a pleasure having you.
It was a pleasure to share my time with you today.
Yes, thank you so much. And you keep doing what you're doing and making an impact in those organizations, small or large, and helping them to save money and helping employees too. It's not only a matter of the companies, but those who are job hunting, like myself and others who are out there searching, to find the right fit. Because we feel that we have to take whatever we get. We're forced to. We have commitments, etc. But we want to be able to find that nice, uh, reasonable sweet spot. Yeah, let's call it that. That we can
Yes.
that we can work with until we attain what we really want to do and where we want to go in terms of our career. Thank you so much, Rebecca.
Thank you, Corrine.